Today it's an Eric Clapton Song War with two UK number 25 hits going against each other. Will the cream rise to the top, or will he win it on his own? Let's find out. Hey, JSB here, joined again by my good friend Bostart. Welcome to the channel, my friend.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
Oh, my pleasure. So today we are indeed looking at Mr. Eric Clapton, and he's going to go to war against himself with two songs with love in the title. And aside from that link, the only other one is that they both peaked at number 25 in the UK. The US chart histories, as I know Bostart will be telling us about later, were very different, but we'll get to that. So these are also from very different phases of Derek's career. One, of course, is Cream's Sunshine of Your Love from 1967, and the other is his 1989 solo effort, Bad Love. So if you haven't already guessed, this is part of my ongoing series for 2025, looking at songs that did peak at number 25. And being a song war, it means we will be listening to both and trying to pick a favourite and asking you at home to do the same. So, Bostart, going into this, I take it you are familiar with both of today's offerings. Do you have a clear favourite going into it?
I do have a clear favourite going into it, and I have a feeling it's going to be the same one going out as well.
Well, only one way to find out, which we will do shortly. I don't have a favourite going into it because, as far as I know one of these songs pretty well, and the other possibly not at all. But we'll find out about that as well. What's your speculation as to whether I know the other song? Because you know which one I know, I'm sure.
I imagine the one you know is the Cream one.
Absolutely. But you will find out because, you know, Bad Love came out. I was around 10. It obviously got some airplay, so we shall see. But shall we start with the Cream tune? And my one-man walking Wikipedia here, known as Bostart, will fill us in on some of the juicy facts about that shortly. But first of all, let's give it a listen. So, on that note, if you're on YouTube, which you must be, there'll be two versions of this video, one with the songs included and one where they aren't. That's basically how two options work. So if the tune fades up very quickly and then we fade back in and start talking nonsense as we do, then you'll know you're on the short version, and there'll be a link in the comments to find the long version so that you can hear the songs with us. And on that note, let's hear our first song, Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. Alrighty. Sunshine of Your Love. They do it slightly better than I just did it there. What a surprise. So, Bostart, I'll hand over to you to tell us everything you want to, really, about the song, both in terms of facts and opinions.
Very well. Well, that song first appeared on Cream's second album, Disraeli Gears, in 1967, which is usually the one that gets hailed as their big classic. It wasn't a single at the time the album was first out in Britain. It was only a single in America initially, where it peaked at number 5. The single from Disraeli Gears over here was Strange Brew, which is Clapton's own composition and vocal. But it came out as a single here in 68, by which time not only had Cream already released a follow-up album, Wheels of Fire, but they'd also announced that they were going to disband after one more
Right.
album.
So that probably explains the what people would probably consider a quite low chart peak for a song of this reputation, shall we say.
Yeah. And also composition. Jack Bruce came up with that bass line after he'd seen Jimi Hendrix live, and he was trying to come up with a Hendrix sort of riff, and Eric helped him flesh it out. And Jack's lyricist Pete Brown, who was Jack's lyricist also throughout his solo career, came up with the words, and Jack and Eric are sharing the lead vocals.
Yeah, they trade off each other very nicely, I think, to the point where half the time I don't even know which is which, to be honest.
I don't know at all. You'd have to find a video on YouTube.
Yeah, and which seems strange to me because one of the things about Eric, I find I don't really like his vocals all that much on quite a lot of the stuff, and then sometimes he's fine. So on this, whichever one he is, he was fine. But where does this stack up for you? Uh, how are we feeling about the song after a fresh listen?
I have to admit that it's not a huge favourite of mine, but hearing that solo again just now, you must have a really great sound system at your end. That really made me see why everyone was so mad about Clapton's playing in those days. You know, the Clapton is God graffiti in the tube, and
Yeah.
you know, I discovered him really through his solo stuff, and a lot of that was sort of, yeah, it's nice, but you know, nothing that makes you think, wow, this man's a guitar hero. But stuff like that, you can see why. Although when you hear Bad Love, there he really does get to show his chops.
Oh, well, we'll get to that before too much longer. Um, as for me on this one, it's one of those classic songs that everybody has done. Um, and it's not one that I really, some songs get overplayed, and maybe this falls into that category, but it's not one that I've heard too much in recent years because, well, I haven't listened to the radio in about 20 years. So I'm only playing it if I want to. So you can't hear too much that you don't, that you end up getting sick of if it's all your own curation. But I haven't heard the Cream version of this in a very long time. And I was struck by how strong that riff is, but also how it really dominates the song to the point that after it finishes playing, I can't remember anything else apart from the riff. How do you find it from that point of view?
Um, I have to agree with you, I'm afraid.
But like you said, the solo itself is great when you're listening to it. And I'm sure this is going to be, for many people, a clear winner, just because it is such a rock staple. To the point, of course, that it's been, as I say, covered by all sorts of people. Now, we are going to move on to our second tune of the day. And while it's officially a Clapton solo tune, he had quite a bit of help with this one, both in terms of writing and performance. But well, maybe we should talk about that briefly before we hear it so that people know what to listen out for. Do you want to give us a little bit of a précis of what I just mentioned there?
Okay, well, Eric wrote this with Mick Jones, who's the guitarist and main songwriter with Foreigner. Obviously, he knows a thing or two about rock ballads. Um,
Uh-huh.
he just brought him in to help him finish it up, really. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. But the cast of players is well, Phil Collins is on drums and backing vocals. He and Eric had played on quite a bit of each other's stuff. Then he did all the drumming on August, which was Eric's previous album. On bass, you've got Pino Palladino, who's probably the most famous session bass player never to have played in Toto.
Yes.
And but you also have two guys from Dire Straits, except one of them hadn't appeared on a Straits record yet at this time. You've got that was Phil Palmer on rhythm guitar, who's also Ray Davies from the Kinks' nephew, but that's another story.
Huh?
And and on the keyboard and doing that lovely atmospheric keyboard introduction here is Alan Clark, who joined as Straits' sole keyboard player in 1980. He did all the playing on the Love Over Gold album, so he does that really mean piano on Telegraph Road.
Incredible. Yep.
And obviously, out from Brothers in Arms onwards, he was sharing that spotlight with Guy Fletcher. But here, he's getting to show his chops on his own again, and boy, does he know how to set the tone for the song. Oh, and of course, Katie Kissoon and Tessa Niles on backing vocals, who were Clapton's regulars at that time.
And of course, Tessa was appearing on albums by everybody at this point, including Marillion. So she's a voice I know. Uh, now, as I say, I'm not sure if I know the song, but we're going to play it now and we'll find out. So this is Eric Clapton solo with all those other people that Bostart has just mentioned for us from 1989's Journeyman album, Bad Love by Eric Clapton. Woohoo, it is. All right. Bad Love giving us a quick fade out there. I mean, it was 80s and you could have had a 30-second fade out from any other tune at this point in time. Sunshine of Your Love had a similar quick fade out. So I can't give either the point on being a song that ends properly, but I've got a feeling that you rather like the song, Bostart. So why don't you tell me if I'm right?
You are absolutely correct. I love it, and I've loved it right from pretty much when I first heard it. I'll explain. This is from the 1989 album Journeyman, which the critics, it's funny, a lot of artists throughout that year were, a lot of the, should we say, longer standing artists were bringing out albums that the critics were calling the best ones they'd done in ages. And I think that's basically because they were starting to realize, look, we've tried to be 80s. The 80s is almost over. We're not going to embrace trends we don't dig. We're just going to be ourselves. And Journeyman was a classic example of that. And that song, according to Eric, was written because Warner Brothers, his record company, wanted another Layla. And boy, did they get one.
Wow. Okay. I
I
mean,
thought,
a record company always wants another of anything that's big, but
yeah, I think the demand was a bit bigger. I guess they wanted him to become a bit less 80s as well, because the record companies were finally wising up that sounding 80s wasn't for everybody.
yeah, well, I mean, that was kind of a mainstream 80s rock sound, but with the 80s, there is bad 80s and then there's good 80s, and I think this sits on the side of the good.
It very much does. I bought Journeyman when it was new, and just wow, all the way through. Wow.
I mean, that obviously speaks to where you enter into a catalog with someone and how it resonates with you for the rest of time.
Not
Um,
necessarily.
I did not have any recognition of that song. I thought I might, and when the riff kicked in, I thought, oh, maybe I've heard that before, but uh, I think I'd have remembered the chorus if I'd heard it before, and it didn't ring any bells. But I enjoyed it, but it didn't wow me, would be my summing up for a first listen, which is, you know, very few of my things that have ever turned out to be my favorite things have wowed me on a first listen, to be fair, which makes the whole point of a YouTube reaction channel utterly redundant, doesn't it? Oh, I love the raised eyebrow on that comment. Um, but I thought that the listening to Phil's drumming on that, which I think was superb, I have to point out that I was remiss not to mention Ginger Baker on the Cream tune because he was doing some blooming brilliant drum work on that. And if this was a battle of just the drumming, I'd probably find it a little bit harder than going song to song as we're about to do. Um, but this, as we say, the Cream tune was number 5 in the States versus 25 in the UK. This one, on the other hand, only made it to number 88, but it did top the mainstream rock charts and it did win him a Grammy for, was it Best Rock Performance or Rock Vocal Performance? Something like that.
Yes, 1991, funnily enough, Grammy Award Best Rock Vocal Performance, because the single came out in 90.
Right. And yeah, speaking of that, like I said before, I'm not always a big fan of his vocals. And I don't know that I'd say that that was the best possible vocal in an entire year, but it was good. I did enjoy it. Um, but now we have to pick a favorite. And I mean, I'm, I don't think there's too much drama for anybody watching this as to what Bostart is going to choose, given what he's already said. But do you want to make it official? What is your winner for today?
Bad Love.
Bad Love gets the nod. Well, for me, I'm a little bit torn. I have one song that I know pretty well and have known pretty well for a long time without ever having particularly loved it, but I admire it. And now I'm hearing a song that I've never heard before, probably, and enjoying it, but not to the point where I can say, yes, that's definitely my preference. So I'm going to hedge my bets and give my nod on a bit of a knife edge to Sunshine of Your Love. Um, Familiarity bias coming into play, even if it's not a familiarity bias of something that I already fully love. But yeah, that's how I've landed. But what do you out there think? And remember, you're not voting with or against either of us. You're just voting for the songs as you feel them and as you've experienced them in your life. And as we've seen, how these songs come into your life really affects how you feel about them. It's not always, I mean, music is an emotional thing, and it's about those emotional connections that uh, really make it why we love it so much. And I'm assuming you like music if you're watching this channel. I know we both have a massive passion for it. So, yeah, let us know down below which is going to take the win for you. And we are split on this particular one. So it's really up to you to break the tie.
Just there's only one bit of trivia I typed up that I left out. It was Mick Jones's idea to give Bad Love that slow middle eight. He, according to Eric, it was Mick who said, "Come up with a guitar break like the one in Badge," which was Cream's last hit.
Right. Yeah, well, that's a good contribution from Mick, who, he was pretty much everywhere in 89. He was producing Billy Joel, he was working with Eddie Van Halen, and he was blissfully unaware that he had already had his last big hit with Foreigner. Um, that's the unpredictable nature of the music business for you, isn't it? Well, anyway, I enjoyed revisiting one of those songs and hearing the other for the first time. Thank you, Bostart, for joining me to, well, not exactly do the same, but to hear the same songs and give you a verdict.
Thank you for having me. Let's do this again soon.
Oh, we will. And yeah, if you haven't already, give us your winner below and we will see you soon because it's merely bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.